One day, on his way back from the palace, Genji thought that he would call upon his foster mother, who, having for a long while been very ill, had become a nun. For a long time I had been waiting to give up the world, but one thing held me back. You never came to see me, and at last I gave up waiting and took my vows. Now, in reward for the penances which my order enjoins, I've got back a little of my health, and having seen my dear young master again, I can wait with a quiet mind for the Lord Amida's light.
I heard some days ago that you are very dangerously ill, and was in great anxiety. It is sad now to find you in this penitential garb. You must live longer yet, and see me rise in the world, that you may be born again high in the ninth sphere of Amida's paradise. For they say that those who died in longings are unfulfilled are burdened with an evil karma in their life to come. Genji goes to Lady Rokuho's mansion where he learns about a mysterious woman. He wants to find out more from Lady Rokuho, but instead learns she is very hard to get in touch with. He sets off to find this girl.
Genji meets the girl. The lady was mystified by him. She was astonishingly gentle and unassuming, and though she had a certain air of girlish inexperience, it was clear that he was not by any means her first lover, and certainly she was rather plebeian.
I am going to take you somewhere very nice, where no one will disturb us, Genji said.
No, no, your ways are so strange I should be frightened to go with you, said the mysterious woman.
Genji said, one or the other of us must be a fox in disguise. Here is the chance to find out which it is. They drove to an untenanted mansion, which was not far off. While he waited for the steward to come out, Genji noticed that the gates were crumbling away. Dense shinobu grass grew around them. So somber an entrance he had never seen. There was a thick mist, and the dew was so heavy that when he raised the carriage blind, his sleeve was drenched. Never yet has such an adventure as this befallen me, said Genji. So I am, as you may imagine, rather excited.
But to you this is no great novelty. I am as the moon that walks the sky, not knowing what menace the cruel hills may hold in store. High though she sweeps, her light may suddenly be blotted out. They left the coach and went into the room which had been prepared for them. Coming now to their room, Genji's steward offered to send for some of Genji's gentlemen.
For, he said, I cannot bear to see you go unattended.
Genji said, do nothing of the kind. I have come here because I do not wish to be disturbed. No one but yourself is to know that I have used this house. He exacted a promise of absolute secrecy.
The sun was high when they woke. Genji went and opened the shutters himself. How deserted the garden looked. Certainly here there was no one to spy upon them. He looked out into the distance, dense wood fast turning to jungle. It pained her very much that he was still masked, and indeed such a precaution was quite out of keeping with the stage at which they had now arrived. So at last, reciting a poem in which he reminded her that all, their love down to this moment.
What of the shining dew? How little knew I of its beauty, who had but in the twilight doubted and guessed.
I cannot wonder that while I still set this barrier between us, you did not choose to tell me all that I longed to know. But now it would be very unkind of you not to tell me your name. I am like the fisherman's daughter in the song. I have no name or home.
Genji's man had been an imperial bowman, and making a tremendous din with his bow he strode toward the steward's lodge, crying, "Fire! Fire!" at the top of his voice. The twanging of the bow reminded Genji of the palace. The roll call of the night courtiers must be over. The bowman's roll call must be actually going on. It was not so very late.
He groped his way back into the room. She was lying there just as he had left her. "What are you doing there?" he cried. "Have you gone mad with fright? You have heard no doubt that in such lonely places as this fox spirits sometimes try to cast a spell upon men. But, dear people, you need not fear. I have come back, and will not let such creatures harm you."
Said Yukon, "Oh, sir, what my poor lady must be going through I dare not think."
"Then try not to add to her fright," said Genji, and pushing her aside, bent over the prostrate form. The girl was scarcely breathing. He touched her. She was quite limp. She did not know him.
If only Koromitsu would return, but Koromitsu was a rover, and a long time was wasted in looking for him. Would it never be day? At last Koromitsu arrived. He prided himself on being always ready to carry out his master's wishes, and immediately, at whatever hour of the night or day.
"We had best get clear of this house as quietly as we can."
Perhaps, said Genji, but it would be hard to find a less frequented place than this.
"At any rate," Koromitsu continued, "we cannot take her to her own house, for there her gentlewoman, who loved her dearly, would raise such a weeping and wailing as would soon bring a pack of neighbors swarming around, and all would quickly be known."
He paused and reflected. "There is a lady I once knew, who has become a nun and now lives on the Higashi-yama. She was my father's wet nurse, and is now very old and bent. She does not, of course, live alone, but no outside people come there."
He tried to follow the body.
But Koromitsu dissuaded him, saying, "You must ride back to your palace as quickly as you can. You have just time to get there before the stir begins." At dusk, Koromitsu came. The story of Genji's pollution had turned all visitors from the door, and Koromitsu found his palace utterly deserted.
"What happened?" said Genji, summoning him. "You are sure that she is dead?"
"Of that there is no doubt," said Koromitsu. "Since it is not possible for them to keep the body, the ceremony shall take place tomorrow, since tomorrow chances to be a good calendar day."
The way seemed endless. The moon of the 17th night had risen and lit up the whole space of the Kamo plain, and in the light of the outrunners' torches the countryside toward Tubureno now came dimly into sight. The light of the visitors' torches flickered through the open door. A senior priest, son of the aged nun, now began to recite the scriptures in an impressive voice, and Genji listened. As he listened, felt the tears come into his eyes.
"Speak to me once again. Tell me why for so short a while you came to me and filled my heart with gladness, then so soon forsook me, who loved you so well."
He asked Yukon to come back with him, but she answered, "I have served this lady since I was a little child, and never once for so much an hour have left her. Now how can I suddenly part from one who was so dear to me, and serve in another's house? And I must go to tell her people what has become of her. For if I do not speak soon, there will be an outcry that I was to blame, and that would be a terrible thing for me. Sir, I will lie with her upon the pyre. My smoke shall mingle with hers."
"The night is far spent," said Koromitsu. "We must now be on our way." And so, with many backward looks and a heart full to bursting, he left the house. The sudden journey undertaken so late at night had seemed to all his household the height of imprudence. Genji flung himself upon his bed and lay there in fever and pain for several days. In the stillness of the evening, under a sky of exquisite beauty, here and there along the borders in front of his palace some insect croaked a song. The leaves were just beginning to turn, and as he looked upon this pleasant picture he felt ashamed at the contrast between his surroundings and the little house where Yugao had lived. To Genji, even the din of the clothes-beaters' mallets had become dear through recollection, and as he lay in bed he repeated those verses of Po Chiui. In the 8th month,
and the 9-month, when the nights are growing long. 1,000 times, 10,000 times, the fuller's sticks beat.